Hello, friends. Welcome to another Full Stack Friday show. This week, we're going to talk a bit about a new AI model that is trending in the news everywhere, and that is the DeepSeek AI model. This is an AI model that's coming out of some research group in China, and the latest version of it is competing with ChatGPT 4.0. So it is a very competitive model. It's running very efficiently and hitting all of the benchmarks that ChatGPT is hitting. So it is everywhere. People are talking about it. It's making all the news rounds. And I figured, why don't we show how you can get this model running locally on your machine? It's an open source model. It's something that you can run locally. Maybe not the latest version. We'll talk about that in a minute, but at least you can get it going and see how it all works on your device. So let's start with some technology. What do we need to run this locally? I'm going to be using .NET today, and I'll go ahead and share my screen and show you what I've got. So the first thing that you're going to need is Docker. I have Docker running on my machine already, and I use the Docker desktop app. It's just super simple to install on Windows and get everything running. I don't know if you can run this on Mac or not. I'm not a Mac guy. I don't know. Don't really involve myself in that community too much, but I'm sure they have a version of it out there. If not, run it from the command line. So Docker is running on my machine in that nice UI version. I've also got the .NET stack installed. All the SDKs are on my machine. I've got all of the deployments for working with web, desktop, mobile, and all of that. But most importantly, we are going to be talking about .NET Aspire today. So .NET Aspire, if my browser will work for me, there we go. .NET Aspire is an open source orchestration framework from Microsoft. And what Aspire allows you to do is it allows you to build orchestrated solutions using this framework of patterns and plugins to build microservices that work across multiple applications and things. So this is going to orchestrate all of those services together and let them communicate. And it takes a lot of the setup work out of your environment. It takes a lot of the connections and makes them manageable. And it's easier seen than it is explained. So we'll get to this in a minute, but this is what we'll be using. We're going to use .NET Aspire today. This is going to make things really easy to spin up. And I mean, just dead simple. This is probably one of the easiest ways to get a local large language model running on your own machine that I've seen. So yeah, definitely going to be using .NET Aspire for that. To work with .NET Aspire, I'm going to be using Visual Studio. I'm still a big fan of Visual Studio. It's an all-in-one place to get things development working. Doesn't matter what language you're using. It doesn't matter what type of app you're building. It can handle all of the languages, frameworks, and deployment methods in there. And there's lots of templates for getting started with different .NET projects if you have the correct workloads installed. So to get a .NET Aspire application up and running, we're going to create a new project. So I'm going to select Create a New Project. And we are going to get some project templates here. And we have several .NET Aspire project templates. So let's just type in Aspire up here just to see what they all are. The most complete solution that you are going to find is going to be the .NET Aspire Starter app. And this one comes with a front end. If you're not working with .NET technology, you may not know Blazor, but this is going to be the front end that is added to the orchestrator as part of this .NET Starter, this Aspire Starter app. So I'm going to choose this one today. It also creates the .NET Aspire host for us. You can use an empty template. You can just use the host if you wanted. I would actually like to connect this AI model to a front end and show how that works as well. So I'm just going to choose this because it has the front end already on it, but you could easily go with these other project types as well. The app host or the starter app is going to be where you're going to want to start with this. If you already have a ASP or a .NET app or another application that you want to attach to the orchestrator, you could just spin up an app host and add in your project. That's also very easy to do, but we'll go ahead and get the kitchen sink going here. So we'll just call this DeepSeek demo, and we'll add that new project. We could also choose a Redis cache. I don't really need that for this today. I don't want a test project either. I'm just going to go ahead and create from here. So this is going to spin up a brand new Aspire project, and we'll talk about the different solution or projects in the solution here. Let's go ahead and collapse this guy down, and let's bring in a little zoom tool so we can see better what we're doing. Get Zoom it running. And we should be able, there we go. We can zoom in now and see our Solution Explorer a little better. And we've got 4 applications in this container. And we've got an API service, we have an app host, we have service defaults, and we have web. Now, the Aspire application is going to be the second one here, this app host. This is going to be the orchestrator that's hosting all of the app services that are in our Aspire app. The service defaults is going to be a communication layer across the applications that share different service implementation details. So the different services can talk to each other. And then the API services, this should just be like a simple web API that's spitting out some data for a front-end application. This will give us an API if we want to maybe run, what do you call it, like a proxy through our AI model, something like that, and send data out through this proxy. We don't really necessarily need this part of the project, but it's here by default. So if we want it, we can use it. We can also exclude it from our orchestration if we wanted to. And then the front end of the application is going to be the bottom half here. This is our web app. This is a Blazor application, and this is just responsible for spinning up a user interface so we can create a web application based on some of the API services that we're surfacing through our Aspire app. So if we run the application, we don't have our DeepSeek AI and all of that in here yet. We're going to add that in just a moment. But let's just see what we got out of the box with the file new project .NET Aspire application template. So you can see that our app host is running, and we're going to get a pop-up window here. And we have an API service and a web front end. And this is the Aspire dashboard that we're looking at. Let's zoom in a little bit here, make this easier to see. So the Aspire dashboard is giving us all of the resources that are available for our microservice container. And we've got, again, our API service. We can hit that. I don't remember what the API endpoint is, so I'm going to go take a look back at the API service and see what it is we can hit. So we can call weather forecast on our API service. So if I go back to my browser and I put in /weather forecast, it's going to spit out some JSON data at me. So I have a web API controller that is part of this environment. And if we look, we have a web front end, and click on that one, and we've got a web application, and it calls out to that API service. So it's connecting that JSON that I just spit out to a UI interface that is displaying that information in a table. We have some interactive components here, and this is all written in .NET, C#, and HTML. So we've got a web front-end application. We've got a web API application, but I really just want to run some DeepSeek. I want to get my AI model, and I want to run that. And then maybe I'll add some AI features to some of these other things that we have in our container. So let's step out of the running app for a minute, and let's go ahead and just disable those services for a minute so we can focus on the Aspire app. And let's go ahead and do a quick scope to this solution. So we can ignore those other bits for just a little bit. And in here, you'll see that we have a builder pipeline. This is the entire Aspire application that you just saw. And what it's doing is just wiring together services for us. So I have my API service, and it is named API service. And this name is important because Aspire is going to track this name and the connections to it, such as local hosts. The URIs for all of these services get tracked by name, so we can use these names globally across the Aspire application and not have to worry about keeping all of these URIs somewhere and managing all of them. It's going to do that for us. And then it will add these projects to the container and spin them up for us. So this is our projects that are being added, and I'm temporarily going to remove those, and we should just get an empty dashboard now if we run the Aspire app. That's what I want to start with. So we've got no endpoints, no resources, nothing found. That is good. That's the template I want to start with for now. We'll add the other things back in just a little bit when we have some AI running. So let's talk about getting AI into Aspire. That's what you're all probably here for. This is actually going to be a lot easier than you might assume. So the first thing we want to do is get the AI into our Aspire app. And for that, I'm going to rely on a library out there called Ollama Sharp. And Ollama Sharp is some .NET bindings for the Ollama API, simplifying interactions for Ollama for both locally and remotely hosted AI models. And adding these things to an application is really dead simple with this Ollama Sharp package. And we're going to be using it with the Microsoft Extensions AI library as well. So we're going to use this method of adding the services to the container. So I need to find the proper documentation for this. And this is the one that we want to grab. So let me put this in some of our chat here. I don't know, depending on what platform you're watching from, if you'll be able to see these links, but I'm going to paste those in here and we'll send that out. I believe that's going to show up on Twitch and YouTube. You'll be able to get those links there. And if you want to search for it, you can go to learn.microsoft.com and look for the ASP.NET Aspire Community Toolkit Ollama integration. So we are hosting because we have a .NET Aspire app and we want to host. So we need to add a NuGet package for hosting this AI model. So I'm going to look for the community toolkit, Aspire hosting Ollama package, and add that to my application. So I'm going to come over to dependencies, click on manage NuGet packages, and then we're going to browse for Ollama, and we should find the community toolkit Ollama package. And make sure my package source is set to public. Yes, I'm going to use Ollama to host the model. That is correct. So we're going to use Ollama to host, but we don't have to use the Ollama LLM to actually interact. So let's find this here. I'll show you exactly where all these models can be added, and you can easily switch these out with anything that you want. But today we'll try to use DeepSeek. So I want the community toolkit Aspire Ollama Shark package because this is going to make things super easy for us. So we'll download that package. I still use the package manager built into Visual Studio. If you want to add these things manually, the command line functions are right here. You can do a .NET add package. You can add it directly to your configuration file if you want to do it that way. And if we look in our application, we can see right now we have the package reference here. And notice this isn't beta, by the way. All of these AI related APIs, interfaces, whatever you want to call them, are going to be in preview generally. This is all brand new, hot off the presses stuff. So there be dragons. All right, so now we have the package installed. Let's drop back over to the documentation real quick. And now that we have the package installed, we can add in the the models that we want to use with Ollama and Ollama itself. So I'm going to grab this bit of code here. This is going to plug into our builder pipeline. So we're going to call builder.add_Ollama, and I'm going to hit control period here because I still haven't brought my dependencies into scope. So I don't know why this is taking so long. Doing a bit of live streaming, but it shouldn't be this slow. Let's try adding this manually here. What we're missing is a using statement. Llama Sharp, let's see what namespace that falls under. All right, why is this not working for me? Whenever you do a live stream, stuff just doesn't work. So we're missing, why don't we have add Ollama and add model? So I did install that. We might need the Microsoft AI extensions. I did not see that come up in the prereqs for it, and Visual Studio is crapping out on me. So let's try this. Let's save this and reopen it, because whenever I live stream, Visual Studio decides it wants to take a nosedive on me and do dumb stuff. So let's try that again. Go back to our DeepSeek demo. And let's try to get this added in. So we've got this control period. No, it is still not letting me use the add Ollama extension. Let me just make sure my package downloaded properly. Let's try making sure it is working. Browse, installed. .NET Toolkit, Aspire. Oh, I missed the host. This should be hosting. So it was my fault this time as a typo. Browse. This should say hosting on it. try doing a little bit more searching. Hosting.Ollama. That's the one we needed. I missed the word hosting in there, so we're missing the hosting model. We have the client integration dependencies, not the hosting dependencies. So that's why I didn't have the add Ollama in there. When you hit Visual Studio hiccups, as often as I do while I'm live streaming, you start thinking it's against you. Now that we've got that in there, we can remove this other one. So we have add Ollama. Make sure you get the right packages, folks. And then we need to add the model. So we'll look back at the add model line here. And we're going to go ahead and add a model. This one's using the Phi 3 model, but we want to use the DeepSeek. So I'm going to call this var DeepSeek, and then I'm also going to pass in DeepSeek here, but I'm not going to run this quite yet. So if I run this, it's going to actually go out and download the DeepSeek model onto my machine when the container spins up, and I'm not ready for that yet. So what I want to do next is I'm going to go to Ollama, and we are going to look at the models. And you can see right here, I have DeepSeek R1 as an available model on the Ollama search. Now, this is not the one that's making all the news rounds right now. If I go in here and I do DeepSeek, you'll see there's a bunch of different versions. We've got Coder, Coder V2, LLM, V2, V3. V3 is the one that is making all the news right now, and you can see that it's been updated 10 days ago. But if I click on this and I look at the number of parameters that this model can take, this is 671 billion parameters. And if I look at the model here, it is 404 gigabytes. I don't want to download 404 gigabytes to my machine to test something to see if it works. That is going to be a pretty sizable download. I think we'd be here all afternoon waiting for it, and it'd probably crash the live stream. So there are different versions of these models because we don't always need to throw a nuclear bomb when we need a hand grenade. So we're going to look at other versions of DeepSeek. If you want to use V3 on your machine and test it out, I suggest you have a very, very beefy graphics card, something that can really handle all of those inputs. I don't even know if I can run that. So I'm going to go back down to the R1, the first generation of DeepSeek, and we'll use this one today because it offers a large range of models. And this one goes from 1.5 billion parameters all the way up to 671 billion parameters. It is only 4.7 gigs at the 7 billion parameter mark. So I could go down to 1 gigabyte. Maybe I want something that I can download to a mobile device, or I want to scale up and use this on my local server, or if I'm hosting in a cloud, I could use the 671 billion parameters. We can even go up to 8 billion here probably and be safe at about 5 gigs. So when I select my model, you'll see this Ollama.run. I want to grab from here the name of the model and include the number of parameters for that model. If you don't put the number of parameters in, it will default. Let's see, the 671 is not the default. Without parameters, not sure which one it's grabbing. Usually it'll show over here just the default one. Let's try that. 7 billion seems to be the default. There we go. I just clicked up there and reset this drop down. Looks like 7 billion might be the default there. So we're going to go in and put in DeepSeek R1 with 8 billion parameters. So we're adding it to our Ollama host and we're adding in the model, which is going to tell the host to download it. But we're not really doing anything with it. Okay, so we're just making it available to our container. And there's also some other things that we probably need to take care of when we host these things. So I'm going to extend this add Ollama function here and add a couple methods to the chain. And we also need to make sure that, let's see here, with GPU support, and we want to add GPU support to this because I have an NVIDIA 2080 Ti on my machine, and I want to make sure that it is using that 2080 Ti with the model. So actually, I might have put in the wrong one. You also need to make sure that you have GPU support enabled on, I wonder if this does the same thing. So I'm going to use this GPUs all switch. I'm curious now that I've typed it in, if the with GPU support, it does the same thing. This might be an add-on that is recent. So the documentation shows use the run container args with GPUs set to all. So probably be the one we do, but if we dive into this, okay, this one covers whether you're using NVIDIA or AMD. So we can actually use that instead. It does the same thing. That was my assumption. So we'll use the GPU support. And then if I run this now, every time I hit run, it will go and fetch a new model. This is a 4 gigabyte download. The 600 billion parameter version is a 404 gigabyte download. You do not want to download this every time you run your application. So we'll go back to the docs again. And there should be, where is it at? Oh, can't find it in that. Let's go here and we will say, with data volume. So I managed to remember that one off the top of my head. If we do with the data volume on this, it is going to create a Docker volume and store any of the data that is downloaded for the application in that data volume. So next time we run this, it won't download again. So these are the 3 commands you really need to know to get this up and running. And then you can choose your model. You could put multiple in here too, by the way. You could do a var Ollama and put in an Ollama model in here. And you can add as many as you'd like to your container. And you can add embeddings in here as well. So if you need an embedding model, you can add that to your container host. So we've got this set up. Let's go ahead and run it. And we should see our model download to our local host, and it should be available to any applications now that we want to run. So the container is named Ollama. It is running, but notice that this one says downloading. What's nice about .NET Aspire is we have this dashboard application that we can look at to see exactly what the status of these things are. So this one, again, is 5 gigs, and it's at about 25% now. The 671 billion parameter one is 404 gigs. It would be at 1% for quite a while. It'd probably take about at least an hour to download on my connection. It's not great. So we're going to go with this 5 gigabyte one, and it's almost there. It's halfway done now. So we can watch that download in the resources. And then next time we spin the application up, since we put in that one line that says with GPU support, it is going to say, or sorry, with data volume, it is going to save that image and not re-download it again. So when we spin up our development environment here, we're good to go. We don't have to wait on anything. So let's check in on our dashboard one more time. and we are still downloading, but it should be, it's about 92%. Once it downloads, it's going to kind of initialize. So you'll see some more kind of output to the console here. So this will flash a few times as it does its boot up sequence. So it's pulled the model in. Let's see if this is outputting. Yeah, so it's starting now to spin up the actual API model, or the AI models in there. So that is almost done. All right, since it's complete, we'll go ahead and close this out because we're not going to really do anything here. If we click on this local host, it simply gives us an is running message. Let's build some interactivity now where we can actually chat with DeepSeek. So if we want to chat with DeepSeek, this is really, really awesome. I love this. We can say with Open Web UI, and that's all we need to add. So we're going to add this, and I'll put a little comment in here. Just going to say this is the default UI for chatting. And if I run this again, remember we had 2 projects running before. This is going to add a third. So we didn't add any real code or anything to our solution. All we did is added that one command. And now we have Ollama, and we have Ollama Open Web UI, and we have our model that is now downloaded. And notice we don't have to wait for that. We're just waiting for this service to boot up. And it says it's not in a healthy state. So if we click on it, we'll just see it's booting. It's just booting. It's building. It looks like it's building a little database in the back end here. So this is just to hold our chats, chat messages and things. So I'm not doing any of this. I'm not coding any of this. It's all built in just by running that one command. It is doing all of this for me, and it looks like it might actually be done already. And now if I click into this local host, I've got a chat interface, and it says you're logged in, and it gives me some update information. If I say let's go, I can come over here and say, give me the DeepSeek R1 8 billion parameter model that I loaded. And this is what I was saying. You can add multiple models. You can go into that chain in your orchestrator here and just keep adding models. And for as many as you add here, you're going to see them appear in the drop down in your chat interface. So now we have DeepSeek R1, and we can say, what is a good recipe for apple pie? And this is all running locally, so it will take a quick second to get the inference back from the model, but once it starts, it goes pretty quick. So now it's doing an async return on that chat completion, and we have our model up and running locally. This is it. We did it. And with one minor typo that I put in myself, we got this up and running fast. This is less than 30 minutes, and we're good to go. And you can see how quick this is coming back. This is nice and fast for 5 billion or 8 billion parameters, 5 gig version of the model. And yeah, that was fast. So we've got output from DeepSeek. So what can we do with this output from DeepSeek? Well, we turned off our other services here. So let's bring those back. Let's put our own custom front end on this thing. And let's see, this demo project, this web front end, that's just the metadata. Let's stop the app from running for a minute and go over to the web app. This is a Blazor web application, so no JavaScript here. We're just going to use C# to do all of our programming. And if I look under my app.razor file, I should be able to tell. And this is one of the instances where the compiler's Not playing along nice. Come on, tooling. Catch me up. These should not be showing green underscores. Try that one more time. Let's see. These are running in per component interactivity. So what that means is this is running server-side interactive mode. So there is a WebSocket connection that keeps the UI of the application updating with the changes based on what the user has clicked on. So I've got my counter app here. We've got nothing on the home page, and for some reason the tooling is not working properly here. So I'm gonna try closing this out one more time and bringing it back up and hope the tooling catches back up with it. Make sure I launch in the right mode so you can see well. I've got a presentation mode that I use that has bigger fonts and things. And come on, compiler. Why are you struggling with this? So I'm missing, my Visual Studio is missing something in here, and I'm not sure what it is. So let's try a little trick here. I'm going to disable this project for a moment and just delete some files from it. Just deleting the cache to see if I can get this thing to reconnect the language services that run in the background that give me all this syntax highlighting. That's what's kind of failing right now. And we're still having an issue. And this is the stuff, folks, that people complain about with .NET development right now, is you get these odd behaviors out of the compiler every now and then. And when they get sticky, they're hard to get rid of. So we might not be able to do the front end bits of this today. This isn't going to work for me. Let me try a project I already have running that's working, and maybe the compiler will stop being a pain and actually do what it's supposed to do. So let's look at this version of an application that this one uses Dolphin 3. Let's see if this will run. We could always add the DeepSeek model to this project if we'd like. It only took a second to do that, so we could switch that out really easy. And there we go. So this version of the application has the Ollama, the web UI, it has an embedding model, and it has the Dolphin 3 model, and it has a front-end application that's been configured already. And this one can chat directly with the model without using the built-in web interface. This is a custom web interface. And we could say the same thing. What is a good recipe for apple pie? And hit generate, and we're going to get back a chat response, and we've got a nice UI. This is a user interface component that is built for chat from the Progress Telerik UI for Blazor set of UI components. So this is a commercial library that has a chat component built in, so I don't have to build all of this stuff myself. I can just grab these components and use them in my app. So this is doing the same thing as before, and then we're even going to get some nice formatting there when it completes. So this is converting everything into Markdown and displaying it here. So let's pop out of that app and go back and take a look. This is what we were trying to wire up before. Something was not quite working with the compiler. So we switched over to this one. We just had DeepSeek in our app. So we're going to convert this to use DeepSeek R1 8B. And we'll run that again. So we were chatting with Dolphin 3 before. Now we're chatting with DeepSeek. Let's try to run that one. And we should be able to run that same chat interface. It's going to have to download this one again because this is a different project than before. So it's going to have a different volume in Docker. And that volume did not have DeepSeek on it yet. So it says downloading. Let's make sure it found it. I typed that in out of memory. So yeah, it's downloading 20%. I remembered that off the top of my head fairly well. And that one is downloading now. So when that downloads, we can chat with it again. And then we also have another sample in there we'll try to run. Never actually had that run with DeepSeek yet. So we'll see if this model is compatible with Dolphin. So we add Ollama. That gives us our AI container. We add a data volume. That gives us our storage. We add the GPU. That gives us our performance. And then the optional open web UI lets us directly chat with the model without any other code customization. And then this line is adding the model. You'll notice that this one has a second parameter on it. This is actually naming the connection. So if I want to use this DeepSeek model outside of this Ollama container, I can call this model. This is going to name the connection to this model. And then when I call up my demo application, this front-end UI, you'll notice that I'm using that model reference here. So I'm going to say with reference model. That's going to bind together this model with this application. So I'm creating a dependency on the microservices that are in this container by using these with reference. And I don't want this application to run without the model available. So I'm going to say wait for the model to be available. So that app won't even respond. It won't say running until the DeepSeek model has downloaded. And then I have an embedding model in this as well. So I say with reference to the embedding model and wait for that because I don't want the app available before the resources. So now I can load my front end app. And this is going to be the DeepSeek. We could say, what AI model are you? Let's see what it says back. There we go. This is the DeepSeek R1 AI assistant. If you weren't aware, this is a Chinese AI model. So it comes from a research group in China. And apparently they have disrupted, the DeepSeek research group has disrupted the AI market over in China. So there were a couple big AI competitors there, and DeepSeek popped in, and they were open source, and they kind of threw pricing models for a loop there because it was cheaper to use than the other competitors that were on the market. So that's one of the reasons it's making such a bunch of headlines recently. I also have a RAG example. I don't know if this is going to work with DeepSeek. It hasn't been tuned for DeepSeek. When you write prompts for these AI models, oh, sorry, throwing an exception. They do handle responses a little bit differently from one to the next. So a prompt that works in ChatGPT might not give you the same results as a prompt in Dolphin, which may not give you the same results as a prompt in DeepSeek. So what this does when I open this RAG example is it's going to parse in a PDF document and try to generate 3 questions about the document that the user can ask that the AI model can respond to intelligently. And the first thing it does is it spins up a chat message from the system, and it tells the AI, it sets the context for it. And it says, you are a helpful AI assistant. Your task is to analyze the provided text and generate 3 diverse questions. The questions should be returned in the form of a string array in a valid JSON format. This is where these models get caught up. A valid JSON format. Only return the JSON, nothing else, without markdown, code formatting, example output, and then it has a JSON array. It threw an exception here, which tells me that it is not able to deserialize the data coming out of it. That means the response back is not in a JSON format. So what we can do here to troubleshoot is this call to complete the chat, complete async, is passing in a data type that it is expecting back. If we take that off, we're going to have to comment out this line that actually makes use of that data type. And instead, we can set a breakpoint here to inspect this. And we'll say that questions.json. We need to do something here. We'll just put a breakpoint on that line. We should be able to hit that. And then we can refresh the app, and we'll see what it gets back. It should, what we're expecting back is JSON. Not familiar with the .NET. Can you use a try-catch exception for this? Absolutely, you can use a try-catch for that. I'm surprised it actually threw an exception when it did. So let's see what it comes back with, and we'll try to figure out why it threw that exception. And this does lead me to believe I do need... why did I not hit a breakpoint? Why didn't I hit a breakpoint? I should be getting debugging there. There it goes. Got it that time. I don't know why I didn't hit it the first time. So we'll come up and debug this. And this is, I've hit this with this model. This is where prompt engineering gets to be a pain, a big pain. Every model that I've tried comes back with something different when you ask for only JSON responses. So this one failed miserably. When I say only return a JSON message, it should only return a JSON response. And instead it returned all this gook. This garbage. I don't want to hear what you're thinking. All right, I need to analyze the provided text based on, I didn't ask for that. I didn't ask you to tell me that you're doing this, that, and the other thing. First, next, I don't need your chain of thought. I don't want that. I just asked for JSON and JSON only, and it still put out all this garbage and then gave me the JSON I wanted back. The Dolphin model was not perfect. It wanted to format the JSON in a different format than I gave it, putting in some properties that I didn't ask for. And I ended up just caving to the AI on that one. So we need to come in here. And this is where this stuff comes in handy. So let's take this out. Let's take our prompt. And we're going to go over to our container app that's running right there. And we are going to run the web UI, and this will give us a place to test our prompts. So we can come in and say DeepSeek, and then we'll put in the same prompt, your helpful AI assistant to analyze these analyze text and respond with 3 JSON outputs. Here's your example. And if we run that, We haven't given it any other context, so I'm kind of curious to see what it will respond with. So it's just giving me it's hallucinating answers for me, which is fine. But you'll see that it did a think statement before it gave me the JSON output. So I either need to look at the data first and parse out this think XML tag and then find the JSON, which is super annoying because I asked it. The question should be return only the JSON and nothing else. Let's see if we can format this differently so we get what we want. It does let me edit. Let's see if we can edit that. Return only. Let's try. So this works with GPT sometimes. If we put our statements on different lines, sometimes it will take them a little bit more seriously. And no, it just, okay, it's immediately responding back. And it gave me a literal this time. Question 1, 2, and 3. So it took that example very literally. It didn't hallucinate anything this time and inject it into those answers. I don't know if that's better or worse. So it doesn't really matter what I tell it not to do here. It's going to be stubborn, and it will always give me this think. Like I've even tried with this. Try to exclude any thought, chain of thought, or think output. Try that. No, it's gonna tell me whatever in this think response. So super annoying feature of the DeepSeek model. And this is the R1 version. I don't know what the latest version is. We can actually go out and maybe check that online since we can't run it locally because it is 404 gigabytes. See if they have a, I don't want to log into their chat, but I guess there's nowhere to chat with it without logging in. I don't know what logging in is going to get me. I don't want a bunch of spam emails, so I'm going to opt out of that for now. We'll have to make do with what we have. If we wanted that to work, we would have to look at that think tag and remove it, and then find the JSON data. We could also try to prompt it a little bit differently here too. We could say, let's see, you are helpful. Let's see. I'm trying to remember how I would phrase this before. Oh, sorry, I didn't see the other question there. Does that have to do with the JSON formats by bot, as in all bot formats the same? So yeah, so for example, if I took this prompt over to ChatGPT, portal, no, let's try. So founder, yeah. So if I go to my Azure account and I use ChatGPT, you will see a big difference in the type of output that I get. Let's go to OpenAI. And then, sorry, navigating through this is not the easiest. And all I want to do is get to my playground where I can type in stuff. Okay, so let's go to GPT-4o mini. And I'm going to put in the same prompt that we just gave it on DeepSeek. And then apply changes, continue. So this is a similar chat interface where I can just type in things. And then I need to give it, oh, jeez. Are you serious right now? it's expired one of my accounts or something. Let's see. I am logged in. Let's try deployments again. Let's see. We've got AIs deployed. Why am I not allowed to use my own deployment? They just changed all of this. Microsoft did. I don't know why. Open in Playground. That's what I'm trying to do. And it's telling me I don't have permissions to use my own deployment that I created. Because I didn't select a subscription. Save. You need a cognitive services OpenAI user role or higher. It's my account. I made it. Oh boy. Well, this has been fun. Thank you, Microsoft. I cannot interact with my own chatbot that I created because I don't have permission. I don't know when they made this change either. I just noticed it like a week ago, and I had it working, and then all of a sudden it stopped again. It seems like every time I log in, now, it's going to do this. Read only, subscription ID disabled. They disabled something on my account, apparently. Right. Yeah, you don't want me to do that right now. You do not want me to give you feedback right now. How about not turning off stuff without telling me? And taking away features that I was testing. I don't know why it's disabled. It's not telling me anything useful to re-enable it. How do I re-enable it? I have credits remaining. I don't know. I can't troubleshoot it right now. Yeah, Azure's fun too. All this AI stuff is just wonderfully new and changes every time you open it. So basically what I was going to say was if I take that same, let's try, let's see, another way to do this for free would be to go to, it's really a good question because this is something I'm running into. We could go to, what do you call these days? Copilot. And let's try Copilot because it's essentially GPT, right? So I'll put the same prompt in, get this back, and it didn't respond at all. So maybe because I didn't feed it any text. Let's give it some text. Let's grab anything off the web that has text. Let's try what's like an about page or something. I just need like a little snippet of text that it can form some questions from. There we go. So we'll just grab some random text. I just asked what .NET Aspire is. We'll throw that in here. And what I expect back is some JSON data. Let's see if it can do it. And I'm getting no responses back at all. It's dead. I killed it. This is fun. This is a different experience altogether. It just took the prompt and gave me nothing for it. New chat. Maybe Copilot doesn't have permission either. Wow. Yeah, so basically each model is going to interpret your prompt slightly different. And what I have found so far is if you ask for like a JSON response back, some of the models will give you back your JSON response. Some of them will give you text in addition to your JSON response. Some will format it slightly different than what you asked for. And even if you give it strict parameters, then you might get different responses from different services. So DeepSeek likes to give you this XML think block. No matter what you tell it to do, it gives you this XML think block. And if you're building APIs that are using responses from these services, I don't want that. That is annoying. And you can prompt it differently to kind of exclude some of these things, but DeepSeek is very dead set on giving you that. So there is another way to kind of trick it. Let's see if I've got I don't have the dolphin chat in here that I gave it. Do I? All chats. I do not have it. So one thing you can do is prompt it to split them up sometimes, and that will work. Your helpful AI assistant. Please provide 2 responses. The second should be JSON only. And then sometimes it'll split them up. Let's see if I did that right. So what I'm trying to tell it to do is give me the think statement separately from another response, which is only the JSON output. And that one didn't work. Some of the AIs will allow you to do that. So you can get 2 responses back and split up its thoughts from the data. But yeah, that one's not working for us. So this is one of the limitations of DeepSeek, in my opinion. The type of work that I've been doing, I need data back that is consistent enough that I can deserialize it into my application and make sense of it. And when it comes consistently with these XML formats around them, I can write code to exclude that, but it makes my code more complex and difficult to manage. So I don't like that. The GPT models, if I could get one that actually responded to me today, they don't do that. They will give you the correct output when you ask for it. So if I ask it for a JSON output, it will give me just the JSON output. So there are differences between these models. We can swap this one back to, or even add it in. Let's do that. Let's add a second model. We can compare the two. So I've got, wrong app. All right, there we go. So I've got this model. We'll go ahead and add a second one here. We'll go back and add the Dolphin 3 model back. We'll just call that model 2. And if I do that, I should get both models in my chat interface. And then we can swap between the two. Oh, I already named it that. Let's do this. Second name in there. So we'll rerun this, and now we'll have two models in. There we go. Everything's green lights. And then once our web UI comes online, we can look at that. And I'll go get the prompt out. The prompt was in my RAG example. All right, so I've got my prompt I want to test, and then I'm going to come into my chat interface, and then I'm going to select the Dolphin model, and I'm going to pop that prompt in there and hit run. And without any other prompting, it should come back with a response that is formatted in the way Dolphin likes to respond back. And usually it comes back a little quicker. There we go. All right, so at least it gave me just JSON. Notice there's not a bunch of garbage before it, a bunch of gobbledygook mess that says, well, yeah, you wanted this data in JSON format. I thought it would be great to do it this way. It doesn't have all that thought behind it. It just gives me the JSON response, and that is something I can parse. Now, it did actually give it a... it did a little better this time. I don't know what I did differently, but it did at least give it a questions array property. So I didn't ask for an array property there. I just said, give me question 1, 2, 3, 4. I didn't say, give me questions. Let's try to edit that. I didn't give it the property name questions here, even though it decided it should do that. So I could add that to it, and that would at least give me consistency that every time now it will give me that. I could not get it to get rid of it. I've tried getting rid of it. It wouldn't do that. But now I can come back and fix my code. And this gives me a data type that I can say, oh, this is data is question. And that is just a string with a question. And it's so this data response would be a little bit different. I have it like this. So the formatting actually matters quite a bit. I have data, and then each question would have a property and be an object. Question, like that. And they wouldn't be in their own arrays. Let's try it like that. Let's see if that does it. Okay, that's interesting. So each one didn't get its own property, but yeah, they will do that. It's a pain. Yeah, so it's trying to come up with a format based off of what I gave it, even though the example output isn't what I asked for. So it might be easier if we split this up to get it to do what we want. But point being, my zoom jumped out. Point being is each model will do this different. And it will give you different responses in different formats based on its training. And also, some of the prompt engineering varies from one model to the next. So things like OpenAI, let's try that. That was more consistent. That's better. So OpenAI likes Markdown. It's familiar with JSON and JSON schemas, and it does really well at formatting JSON. If you're working with, what is the other one I'm trying to think of? What's the other big one that everybody loves? Big AI model everybody loves. If I just see it, I'll know it. DeepSeek, Llama, Gemma. Where is it? I can never remember the name of all these things. There's another really popular one, and I guess the point there was it likes Claude. Claude is the other one. So if you're using Claude, it really likes XML. So they recommend you use XML with that one. And it looks like DeepSeek might like XML as well, because it puts an XML output around literally everything with a think tag. So there's that. That's why I tend to like ChatGPT right now, is it works well with what web developers are used to, and that is JSON and JSON schema. It understands what a JSON schema is. Whether you provide a JSON sample or a literal JSON schema, there is a JSON schema. So if you go to JSON schema and look, you can see there's docs around it and everything. What the JSON schema looks like. And you can feed ChatGPT a JSON schema, and it will output proper formatted JSON responses, which is awesome in my opinion. A lot of models, if you feed it a JSON schema, it gets super confused. It doesn't know that it's a thing, it's a document type, and it just spits back the same JSON schema, which does you no good as a consumer of the data. So, and it likes to mangle and hallucinate a bunch of stuff into that schema. So anyway, if you're working with multiple models, this is something you're going to run into. So that's what Dolphin gives you. I can get this back now. This is consistent. I can format that correctly and use that in my app. If I go over to DeepSeek again, and let's do a new chat. New folder. I'm still getting used to this interface. Okay, new chat with DeepSeek. And I put in that same prompt, and I set the message, send the message to the model. Your helpful AI assistant, you're going to analyze some provided text and give me this. And see, here it comes again with this nonsense. However, it did a great job at formatting the JSON once I got it back. So if I could train it to split this up, that would be great, because then I can take the second message and parse it. Otherwise, I got to keep coming in and nixing this think tag out of it. And I need to do that either with like an XML reader or a regex expression. I don't want to have to do that. I just don't. Yeah. So this is a nice format here. I like that. This is not. We could try some different methods at doing that. I'll have to do this off camera and figure out how to ditch the think response or separate it into a separate message. One way, here, let's try this way. I like trying to think through stuff on stream here. Let's put in the prompt, and we'll say, "You are a helpful AI assistant." Oh shoot, I didn't mean to submit it. Is there a cancel button on that? Yeah, we'll let it run. New chat. You're a helpful AI assistant. Is it shift enter? There we go. I'll try to split this up a little bit for a second. Prompt engineering is really actually quite difficult. So we've got a couple different things that are being asked here. And then we could do, let's see, you're a helpful AI assistant, your task to analyze. We could do, you have 2 tasks. 1, sometimes if you put these in a 1-2, you'll get 2 responses back. 2. And then it doesn't respect that part of it anyway, so we'll ditch that. Let's see if we get 2 things back. No. I don't believe those are 2 responses. Usually it'll bullet point both responses. So that doesn't look like it's capable. Maybe R1 can't do that correctly. So I know some of the other engines will do it. ChatGPT being offline is a weird one for me. Like, let's see. Oh, hey, okay, so Copilot's back. So let's see if Copilot's going to work now. Let's try a new chat. Let's try our prompt and see what comes back. There we go. See how that came back? Just exactly how we wanted it and nothing else. So that is what I expect back. And of course, that's running in the cloud. It's running on a much bigger model. But you should be able to do that with the smaller model as well. It's not like we're asking it something super difficult. Let's try this one. Let's see if it can do the 2 outputs. That one didn't come back as 2 outputs. I don't know why. Let's see. Let's try that again, and we'll say 1 and then 2. And what they should do is actually come back as different. It didn't do it. I guess the example output might be throwing this one off. Even though it follows the second one. Yeah, that shouldn't throw it off. But anyhow, that's where your trial and error is going to be at. So getting the models up and running is the easy part. It's getting them to respond the way you need them to be useful. That is actually the hard part right now. So this has all been taken care of for us with containers and APIs for us that plug these things into .NET Aspire, make them easily accessible and runnable locally on our devices, so you can get frustrated trying to get them to respond the way you'd like them to. So that's all I've got for our show today. We'll work more with this next week, and hopefully I'll have some extra examples that work a little bit better than these. But yeah, the prompt I have in there should be working for this RAG sample, and it did. So when I pull up my AI assistant now, it should be able to parse out. I don't have a breakpoint there anymore, right? Oh, I do. Source file it changed while debugging. Sure it did. I don't remember saving any changes in there while it was running, but we'll try to run it one more time. But now that I swapped back to Dolphin, I think I swapped back. Did I not swap back to Dolphin? I added it. I don't know if I swapped over to it. We'll know in a minute if the app blows up. I just wanted to see it run. It's pretty cool because it'll receive a PDF document, parse it, and then form intelligent questions about it. And it's not working. Yeah. At least it failed gracefully that time. At least it failed gracefully, right? So it's still unable to serialize whatever's coming back. But yeah, you can wrap try-catch blocks around those functions to make sure they don't blow up. This try get result should have trapped most of the errors. So a try get generally has a try catch in it. It's not letting me dive into the source code for that try get. There it goes. Yeah, so there's my try catch. It does have a try catch in there. I must have failed before this. So it probably failed on the await here in the complete async because there's an internal deserialization inside the method. So because that serialization can fail, which is super annoying because the way the JSON serializer works in .NET, it can do that. Yeah, you probably want to wrap that block in a try catch as well. So you'd have a try catch there. Try get result should have taken care of most of it, but what happens is that try get result is only going to be valid if the JSON deserialization happened successfully. So you would need to wrap that in a try catch in case. So what this is doing is trying to deserialize something that's not JSON. And when it gets the data, it doesn't know what to do with it. So it throws an exception here. If it would have got back JSON, but it wasn't correct, then it would have maybe gotten to this try catch here and not completely crash the app. So, but what it would do if it worked is it's going to get 3 questions based on the context of the document I gave it. And then the user can select one of those questions and it will find that text in the document and form an answer based on the question that it was asked. So you do a little RAG solution there. And I'll do it all locally. So those are all running here locally in Docker. And if you look under volumes, you can see where it's saving off those big models. We've got 9 gigabytes of AI models in there. And that's it, folks. That's all I've got for today. We did it, though. We ran DeepSeek locally. That was what I promised. We got it up and running. And it's just literally 3 lines of code in Aspire to get DeepSeek running locally, which is pretty amazing, I think. Yeah, so you get the whole web UI and everything with just 3 lines of code. Cool stuff. We'll see you guys next week.